Next on Newsmax Prime, the Iowa caucuses take place in exactly 1 week. So who's weaker and who's stronger heading down the stretch? Then ISIS releases another video. This one pays tribute to the Paris attackers and also makes a threat toward the UK. What are the implications for the US? Plus, the Capitol Hill equivalent of "the dog ate my homework" and what Congress should do about it. What should you do for the next hour? Stay right where you are, because Newsmax Prime starts right now. Good evening and welcome to the Monday night edition of Newsmax Prime. I'm J.D. Hayworth. Of prime interest tonight, countdown to the caucuses. 1 week from tonight, Iowa will choose. So what will influence that choice? As Miranda Kahn reports from our Newsmax Prime newsroom, endorsements may make the difference. Miranda?
JD, of course, last week Sarah Palin endorsed Donald Trump, so now Ted Cruz has countered with a couple of key endorsements of his own. Sunday night, Texas Governor Rick Perry endorsed the Texas senator, and Saturday, talk show host Glenn Beck appeared with Cruz in Iowa, offering his endorsement in person.
The next president has to decide, where are we going? Where are we headed? And if it's not somebody who has it in his DNA and in his bones that it is the Constitution, it's not a man who makes America great, it's the Constitution. It is the restraint on a government that allows the people to be free to be able to create those things. If we lose that in a time of trouble, we may never be able to reverse it.
But will any endorsement reverse what appears to be a strong trend for Donald Trump? The billionaire doesn't seem to think so. He made this boast Saturday in Sioux Center.
My people are so smart. And you know what else they say about my people? The polls. They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible.
The Donald may have his supporters laughing, but he could have some Fox News executives worrying. His campaign manager says that Trump may boycott Thursday night's debate if Megyn Kelly is one of the moderators. The talk is Trump may hold a town hall instead. JD, back to you.
Thanks, Miranda. For more on all of this, we're pleased to be joined by John Zogby of Zogby Analytics. John, also the author of First Globals, Understanding, Managing, and Unleashing Our Millennial Generation. He joins us tonight via Skype from Utica, New York. And also Skyping in, but from a snowy Virginia, presidential historian Craig Shirley. Craig is the author of Last Act, The Final Years and Emerging Legacy of Ronald Reagan. As always, gents, we appreciate your time here on Newsmax Prime. Now, as Miranda just mentioned, those Fox executives could be getting nervous as Donald Trump is making a big deal of pondering a boycott and holding his own town hall instead. Here's what he tweeted out over the weekend. Based on Megyn Kelly's conflict of interest and bias, she should not be allowed to be a moderator of the next debate. Let me ask you, first you, Craig Shirley, will Fox back down and pull Megyn, or do you think Donald will in fact end up holding a town hall going opposite the debate?
No, the debate will go forward with both participants. It is said the most dangerous place in America is between Donald Trump and a TV camera. So the Fox executives know better. They're going to have Megyn Kelly on. And as a matter of fact, he knows exactly what he's doing. By creating these contretemps before the actual debate and involving her, he's going to heighten the ratings even higher. So I expect the ratings to go much, much higher than they have previously, if only because Trump has created this mini non-controversy, so to speak.
Is that the way you see it, John?
Absolutely. This defines symbiotic relationship. Donald Trump and the Fox executives, they know each other and they've been able to negotiate successfully with each other after each of these faux crises. Fox cannot afford to have this debate canceled. And as far as the Donald is concerned, he's broken all the rules thus far and he's always won. So in this instance, I'm in total agreement with Craig. The show will go on and everybody will win.
So, John, since you're our resident pollster, let's talk about new polls concerning the Donald coming from Fox and elsewhere. Here's what Fox News shows about Trump. Says he has commanding leads. Their new polling shows him with a double-digit lead in Iowa, 11 points over Ted Cruz. And Mr. Cruz, in turn, with an 11-point margin over third-place Marco Rubio in the Granite State of New Hampshire. The Donald with more than double the support enjoyed by Ted Cruz, but it is significant that Ted has moved up to second place, 1 point better than Marco Rubio. So I'm curious, John, maybe it's ancient history now. You thought Trump was going to fall by the wayside. That does not appear to be the case.
It certainly doesn't, and I was wrong. A lot of us were wrong, but I'll stand in line first and say he's broken all of the rules, all of the conventions. I'm a historian as well as Craig. I taught history for 24 years, and this one is really for the history books. No, he did not fade away, did he? He
did not fade away. Meantime, Ted Cruz is hanging around, and Miranda talked about the two key endorsements that he picked up. Rick Perry, who was in this race, who's the Texas governor, and Glenn Beck. Now, I've got to ask you, Craig, will those endorsements help Cruz regain the momentum in Iowa?
There's an old saying, Reagan's old campaign manager used to say, JD, that politics is motion. And I don't think anybody has ever understood this as well since Reagan as Donald Trump. He always is in motion. He's always setting the agenda. He's always reformulating the debate. But Ted Cruz also is being helped by these endorsements because they keep the story alive and they keep the story moving forward. So they can't do anything but help. Now, he would be better off with local endorsements than national endorsements. You tend to believe people who are closest to you, state reps, state senators, religious leaders, radio talk show hosts, people like that. But they certainly can't hurt. I mean, especially after coming off what was arguably one of the worst weeks in the history of presidential politics, what Ted Cruz just went through. So it certainly can't hurt, and it might help.
Well, John Zogby, I believe
Can
it was...
I just chime in there,
Yes,
JD?
sir, go ahead.
Yeah, very, very quickly. He had a terrible week, and I think the key point against him was everybody hates this guy. Anybody who knows him hates him. Well, the governor of his own state and Glenn Beck, who's a famous and very good rated talk show host, are actually endorsing him. I think that helps to neutralize his worst negative.
All right, well, let me go back to Craig Shirley. And Craig, since you study the Republican Party, I guess a couple of weeks ago, Peggy Noonan, in her column in the Wall Street Journal, talked about the civil war going on in the grand old party. Historically, vis-a-vis right now, what impact is it going to have, both now and on in November in the general?
Well, that's a good question because the party has been at war with itself in the past. A la 1964, it didn't put itself back together, and Goldwater lost in a debacle to LBJ. The party was at war with itself in 1976. Didn't put itself back together in time to help Gerald Ford beat Jimmy Carter. The party was at war with itself again in 1980, but they fell in line behind Reagan, and he won an historic a landslide win. So it really, I don't have a crystal ball. We don't have crystal balls of the newspapers the day after the election, so it's hard to see into the future. But I will tell you, JD, based on history, this does not feel very good right now. Is that I'm not sure, and I'd love to have John's thoughts on this too, and your thoughts, but it does not feel like the party is going to put itself back together in time in order to win in November.
Well, John, maybe we're seeing an entire realignment when you consider the fact that yet another billionaire is making noise about getting in this race. That, of course, former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. Now, for his part, Donald Trump was asked who he thinks that will hurt more, Republicans or Democrats.
Well, I wouldn't mind it. I mean, I love the competition, and I understand Michael. I know Michael, and I could see him doing it, and I would love to have Michael run it. Honestly, I love the competition. I think I do very well against Michael, and I think I do very well, frankly, in a three-person race. It would be fine, but I would love to see Michael do that.
But if he gets into this three-way race, I mean, who is he a bigger threat to? Who is it that he hurts?
Well, he could very well hurt the Democrats. You know, he's very, very anti-Second Amendment, very. And he's got a lot of other things. I think he'd hurt the Democrats personally, but...
John Zogby, do you share the assessment that Donald Trump offered?
Well, look, if Bernie Sanders is the nominee, and I doubt that, then Michael Bloomberg jumping in absolutely takes Democratic votes away. But I think, on the other hand, if it's Hillary Clinton or a lot of baggage there, let's say Joe Biden, no, then Michael Bloomberg is the out then, I think, for more moderate, centrist Republicans, and definitely hurts Donald Trump or the Republican nominee.
On the subject of Democrats, John, you just released your latest poll on that race yesterday nationally, and you show Hillary Clinton in command with 49%, Bernie Sanders at 27%, and interestingly, Mr. Excitement, Martin O'Malley, at 10%. What's the takeaway from this poll, John Zogby?
That Martin O'Malley, who is climbing, and I think it's accurate. I think he probably is scoring a few points into, from obscurity to somewhat respectability, but he seems to be taking away the anti-Hillary vote, taking away votes from Bernie Sanders rather than from Hillary.
Craig Shirley, last word to you, 15 seconds on the Democrats.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic. We've seen it before where two front runners just pound on each other so much that voters go for the third option, and that may be developing now for Martin O'Malley as the third option.
All right, Craig Shirley in Virginia, John Zogby in Utica, New York. Gentlemen, we thank you as always for your insights and analysis. Agree or disagree with what they had to say? Send your comments to me at newsmaxtv.com/comments. Up next, a guy who always has a lot of comments, Wayne Allen Root. We'll get to the root of what he wants to talk about right after this.